Zohran Mamdani has won the New York City mayoral elections and he's already asking for more of your money. You might think that this is a joke, but I'm gonna show you that in a second. Also, Republican Congressman Byron Donalds leaves CNN speechless and President Trump sends a direct message to Mamdani. We've got a lot to talk about, but real quick, make sure to drop a like on this video. That helps the channel out a lot, and don't forget to subscribe.
On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this movement. So I hope you'll make a donation at transition2025.com.
That is not AI, that is Mamdani celebrating his win as New York City's next mayor. And for anyone who's wondering if this is true, he's actually asked for money more than once already, which is weird because he talked about lowering costs and now he wants your hard-earned money.
You know, there were a few months ago where I told supporters across this city to stop donating. And today I am asking them to start once again. And I am asking them to do so because of the fact that a transition that can meet the moment of preparing for January 1st is one that will require staff, it will require research, it will require infrastructure. And those are things that we will have to provide. And I'm excited for the fact that it will be funded by the very people who brought us to this point, the working people who have been left behind by the politics of the city.
But of course, this isn't out of the ordinary. Politicians make wild promises all the time while on the campaign trail. Some of them would say literally anything just to get their vote. A good example would be Mamdani, but now that he's won, he has to prove that he can get things done. We'll get to those later, but I want you to watch how Andrew Cuomo responded to his loss.
Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani. No. That is not right. That is not right, and that is not us. That is not us. Tonight was their night, and as they start to transition to government, we will all help any way we can because we need our New York City government to work. We want it to work for all New Yorkers because our city is the greatest city in the world, and we will unite for New York City because we love New York City.
Now here's the truth about Mamdani. He is focused on President Trump more than New Yorkers. Now that's something that we have to see to believe, but speaking of which, let's talk about those policies, okay? How does he plan to provide everything he's promised to voters?
You're proposing free grocery stores, free buses, $30 minimum wage, all of which sounds incredible.
Cheaper groceries, not free groceries.
Excuse me, cheaper groceries. But what people want to know is, great, I would love all those things.
Yeah,
how do you pay for it? Who's going to end up footing the bill for those programs?
So I'll answer that question by first explaining some of the endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has received. Elon Musk's endorsement is one of the most expensive endorsements that Andrew Cuomo has ever gotten because it cost him and the state of New York $959 million in tax breaks that he gave Elon Musk years ago when he was the governor of this state. That's actually more money than it would cost to make every bus free in New York City. So I've said clearly that I believe we should tax the top 1% an additional 2%, that's New Yorkers making $1 million or more a year, and have the most profitable corporations pay the same tax rate they do at the top tier in New Jersey, what they would actually pay here in New York. These things together would pay for the entirety of our economic agenda and start to Trump-proof our city.
To be fair and stick to the facts, Mamdani never promised free groceries. Let's get that straight. But he did promise everything else that was said. While it sounds great on paper, taxing the rich is, let's say, complicated. We know for a fact that they'd find a loophole somewhere down the line. That's just the fact. Something that President Trump has admitted to, given that lawmakers really aren't focused on that. I'm sure you remember his debate with Hillary Clinton. But here's where things get interesting. Mamdani claims that he's not a communist, even though most of his proposed policies are similar to communism.
Explain the difference. What is the difference between a Democrat, a democratic socialist, and a communist?
Well, I'm a democratic socialist who's also a Democrat.
Right.
And when I say I'm a democratic socialist, I explain it in the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said that call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
Right.
And what I actually find is that when you're speaking to New Yorkers, they ask you less how you describe your politics and more whether there's room for them in that politics.
Right.
And New Yorkers are asking me, does your politics have room for my struggle to afford my rent, my childcare, my groceries?
I'm not sure if he can hear himself talk, but it sounds very, very similar to communism, especially when it comes to taking advantage of the working class. Now, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens, although Congressman Byron Donalds believes that Mamdani's plan is set to fail.
When you put in communist and yes, communist policies, that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about.
He's not a communist.
It
He's a
never
democratic
works.
socialist. He says he's a democratic
I
socialist.
can't tell what the difference is.
Well, he can describe
Explain what the difference is.
He can describe the differences for you. The socialism is not the same basis of communism in this country. You know that quite
The
well.
man
You
wants
have an
the man
economic
wants to create government-run grocery stores. He wants free transportation, both of which are impossible to do because
You know that communism is a trigger word to try to undermine all of his policies. He's not a. He says he's a democratic socialist.
I don't need to undermine his policies. His policies undermine himself because they've never worked. Here's all I want him to do. Tell me where they've ever worked. They've never worked. He knows that. I knows that. But what he's trying to do is promise everybody something that they can't have. And the truth is there is no free lunch, just like there's no free bus. Because you know what happens when you have a free bus? There's nobody there to fix it or to drive it. He knows that. I know that. You know that. America does know it. And it's unfortunate that the city of New York, my former home city, is probably going to have to go through this.
Nothing in life is free. That's a cruel truth. I mean, you die and you still have to pay for funeral services. At least that's for the people who are still alive after you die. Now, if you're going to provide a service, someone's going to foot the bill one way or another. Now, let's hear from President Trump since Mamdani has seemingly threatened to make New York Trump-proof.
For 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism or the concept of communism has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
No, it's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
At one point he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed.
What are your thoughts on this? Are you happy about Mamdani's win? Sound off in the comments. Before I go, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to keep yourself informed. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all in the next one.